am an astrologer, I'm a moonologer, I am a Hay House author of various books, including Moonology, which is a guide to working with the moon, and of Astrology, which is a book which can teach you how to do your own or anyone else's horoscope if you so desire. Now, today, there's some magical music playing. Today, there is a very, very, very big thing happening in the astrology world. Yes? Yes? Oh, what happened? Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. I know what it is. It's my fault. All right, shall we start again, or is that a bit weird? Okay. Hello, Bronwyn. Oh, where in Tasmania are you, Bronwyn? Well, hello again. It's Yasmin Boland here in London, coming to you live and direct on beautiful Hay House Radio, where they give you radio for your soul. In fact, where we give you radio for your soul, and also over on Facebook Live. Hi, Facebook Live people. If you want to follow the show on Facebook Live, you just put my name into Facebook, Yasmin Boland, and you'll find me talking away, looking a bit daggy today, as we say in Australia. So let's get right into it. It's a very, very big week in astrology because today, in fact, just a couple of hours ago, Jupiter, the planet of plenty, the planet of abundance and joy, has changed signs. I just want to say one thing here and now, by the way. Jupiter is the planet of generosity, and about 5-10 minutes ago I caught sight of my books, one of my books, Moonology, Working with the Magic of the Lunar Cycles. It's a Hay House book, and I thought I should give a book away today, so I'm going to give a book away, and now I'm realizing why, because of course it's about Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet of generosity and good luck and good fortune. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, mostly Jupiter, what it means. It's moved out of Scorpio, it's moved out of Libra, and it's moving into Scorpio this week. So what does that mean for you, for me, for everybody, for the world? It means a lot, actually. It means your luck is about to change. So if you haven't been feeling all that lucky, you're going to find out now where you're going to be finding more luck, where you're going to be getting more luck. And if you have a question about your chart, I will be taking calls in the second half of the show. So please call me up. The numbers are all on the hayhouseradio.com website. And also, if you're at home and you have a pen and paper, I strongly advise you to grab it, because I'm going to be giving you some dates. Before we get right into the Jupiter information, I wanted to just take a little look at the week ahead as well, because this is weekly astrology with Yasmin, and I figure it's good to know what's coming up in the week ahead, because Jupiter is actually kind of like a big long-term background thing that's going to be going on for us. So right today, the 10th of October, it's actually quite a tense day. So I don't know about you, I've actually had a really good couple of days. Everything's been really harmonious at home with my husband and my son, and we've all been happy and great. And then today it has actually been a little bit more tense. And looking at the chart for the week ahead, I can see we have the Sun squaring Pluto today, which is basically arguments waiting to happen. So if you've been feeling a bit scratchy today, that's why. And if my beautiful husband Olivier is listening, as he often does, hello darling, I love you. Also today, in fact, and that's one of the reasons why, even though it's been a little bit tense today at home, I can say hello darling, I love you, because and I hope you can too, to your beloved if you have one, because we also have a really lovely link between Venus, the planet of love, and Chiron, which is the wounded healer, but also the healer. Okay, so it's actually a day where even if things did get a little bit pear-shaped, or they're still feeling a bit tense, There's going to be a lot of easy ways to make up, to kiss and make up, and that applies personally and professionally. I mean, it could be you've had an argument at work. If you say you're sorry, chances are healing will take place. Now, the other thing that's happening, which is tomorrow, October 11, it's the Mars square Saturn day, and I call that the buy a helmet day. And I'm really referring to a funny thing I read by actually an American astrologer. I know most of the listeners on this show are from the States. You all know I love the States. I want to come and live there one day. Anyway, this is one of my favorite astrologers. His name's Michael Luton. You may have heard of him. He is this crazy dude who lives in New York City. And I remember he wrote once on his website when Mars was squaring Saturn. That happens, every couple of years. And he said, if you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall, buy a helmet. And I thought that was very funny because usually you think, well, stop. But the thing is, when Mars is squaring Saturn, it can be a time where you just keep banging your head against a brick wall. And it doesn't matter that what am I doing? This is stupid. I should stop. And yet you continue. So there's a bit of that in the air as well today because the Mars-Saturn square will peak tomorrow. So if you're banging your head against a brick wall, either stop, if you've got the sense, or buy yourself a helmet. It also is a time where you need to be careful about where you're putting your energy. I've been feeling quite scattered today. I haven't really been terribly constructive. If you've been feeling a bit like that as well, that can be, it's a case of just the energy is not being used very wisely. Mars is all about drive and energy and doing stuff, and Saturn's about being constructive and sensible. But when they square, sometimes it's a bit hard to do what you should do. Also, later in the week, again, we get another couple of really nice astrological connections, which I want to mention, which you might want to make a note of for your diary. October 13, which is Friday the 13th, we're going to get actually another kind of constructive link. It's going to be Mercury, the planet of communications, making a harmonious link to Saturn, who's the teacher and the kind of the tedious bore of the zodiac, but also the planet that's all about being solid and sensible. So Friday the 13th, it may be on the weekend, but Mercury sextile Saturn like that, again, it's kind of it's going to be like a nice end to the week. So even if the week's a bit up and down and there's all these changes, and Jupiter moving into Scorpio, which I'll get to, it's a big change, it's a big energetic change, and it doesn't happen like a light switch. Like officially it happened today at 2:20 p.m. here in London. But it's been coming for a while and it's going to be continuing. We'll be feeling the change. And so it's just nice to see that Mercury Saturn thing on Friday night, because it's going to mean Friday night should be a time where you can have constructive conversations. And even if everything's been a bit weird between you and your partner this week, or your kids, or your friends, or your teachers, or your co-workers, whatever it is, it can be a time where you feel like you're more on a bit of an even keel. But it is a roller coaster, as I said, so that's why I'm saying make a note. Friday night, good night for a conversation to sort things out. Now, October the 14th, which is Saturday, we get Venus moving into Libra. Now, Venus is the planet of love, and Libra is the sign of love. So if you have love on your mind, if you want to fall in love, if you're in love, if you wish you're in love, if you want to be more in love, it's actually going to be the start of a few weeks when love is going to be sweeter and easier to come by. It's not going to be perfect because as Venus moves through the sign of Libra, there are going to be some clashes with the outer planets. But overall, Venus loves to be in Libra, and Venus being the planet of love in the sign of love, at least we know that love will rise to the top of the agenda for many of us. And so the week goes on and plays out. By the time we get to Sunday, we've got Mercury opposite Uranus, so it's kind of going to be a little bit up in the air again. Then we've got Mars Chiron, and that's nice and healing. I mean, overall, it's really a week of highs and lows, and you can't, with so many astrological connections. I wish you could see them. I've got them on my computer. There's, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's about 10 major astrological events this week. And what happens when we get that many astrological events in one week is that it kind of ends up that there's no real theme to the week. There's no real, you can't really say, oh, this is a week to kind of, meditate a lot, or a week to do lots of exercise, or a week to ask for a pay rise, or a week to be careful about arguing with someone or whatever. There's no real theme. It's a bit of a mishmash week, but overall it's a pretty positive week. So, that's really good. We don't have any major lunations, like we don't have a full moon or a new moon this week. For those of you who, like me, like to follow the moon, the next lunation is going to be, in fact, October the 20th, which is still 10 days away. So we'll be talking about it next week. That'll be the new moon in the sign of Libra. So if you have any issues to do with love in particular, but also money, that's going to be a good thing, because Libra is also about luxuries. And so yeah, we'll talk about that next week. So that's kind of the landscape as we look at this very, very big thing that's going on in the skies, the move of Jupiter from Libra into Scorpio. Now, there's a couple of things to say. One is that be aware that Jupiter, as I said, is the sort of the lucky planet. It's the like the god of good fortune. Libra in Jupiter kind of promised a little bit more than it delivered in some ways, you could argue, because Jupiter is the planet of good times and Libra is the sign of relationships, and it should have been in some ways a time where relationships got better, and maybe they did on a personal level, but we've seen so much upheaval in the world in the last 12 months, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that Jupiter is also the amplifier of the zodiac. So it's the planet that basically takes anything and blows it up. So when you get Venus meeting Libra, that's lovely, because Venus is the goddess of love and the goddess of abundance, and Jupiter's the planet of plenty. So when you get them together, that's bloody marvelous. I don't know if I can say that word in America. That's marvelous, because you get an amplification of love and abundance. But Jupiter was actually clashing with, let's see, it clashed with Neptune, Pluto, Uranus and Chiron while it was in the sign of Libra. And that's why things have been blown out of proportion a little bit. Things have been quite intense. So now Jupiter's moving into Scorpio. The last time Jupiter was in Scorpio was from October 2005 to November 2006. That's October 2005 to November 2006. So just cast your mind back to what you were doing when Jupiter was last in Scorpio, October 2005 to November 2006. Because there is some good news if you've worked it out. Whatever in your life felt lucky or blessed then, luck and blessings being two very Jupiterian concepts, should feel lucky and blessed again now and in the coming 12 months of this cycle. Note that whatever started in your life between October 2005 and November 2006, including any children you may have had, will now enjoy what's called a Jupiter return. Okay, a Jupiter return is when Jupiter returns to the spot where it was back then, and so you kind of get like Jupiter now meeting Jupiter then, and you get positive developments, causes for celebration, and lots of high expectations. If you follow my website, which is moonology.com, like astrology, but moonology.com, you'll find a lot more about what Jupiter in Scorpio means for you. And if you do want to read more about the details for your sign, moonology.com is the site. But also, if you know your rising sign, you'll get an even more accurate prediction. So look that up. If you don't know your rising sign, but you would like to, I can give you a free access way to get your chart done. You just need to go to moonmessages.com/free chart. moonmessages.com/free chart. The overall information to know about Jupiter is, as I said, it's an amplifier. It expands, okay? It bestows goodness and it lightens things up. To see how Jupiter works, think about, think about the issue of marriage equality. Okay, marriage being a very Libra thing. So this is when Jupiter was in Libra, and it's become a very big issue around the world. Jupiter, it amplifies everything. So marriage, a Libran issue, was amplified when Jupiter, the amplifier, was in Libra. So can you see how astrology works? It's actually quite simple. In the country where I grew up, which is Australia, at the moment they're having what they call, I think it's called a plebiscite, where basically they're spending a couple of $1 million or lots of millions of dollars asking people if they think that gay marriage or same-sex marriage should be allowed. And if you think about the campaign, if any Australian listeners as well, especially, the Yes campaign, the people who are saying yes, same-sex marriage should be allowed, it's all very bright colours, happy smiling faces, and the all-inclusive motto, love is love. It's all very Jupiterian because Jupiter's about happiness and joy. So that's what Jupiter in Libra was about. So now Jupiter's moving into Scorpio. Okay, now Scorpio is a completely different energy from Libra. Libra is very harmonious. It's all about negotiation. It's all about what's fair and what's just and right. And Scorpio is all about emotions and depths. Okay, so it's a water sign. Scorpio is a water sign. We all have Scorpio in our chart somewhere. So in a minute, I'll tell you where you have it in your chart and what that means. So the focus as Jupiter moves into Scorpio will be on expanding Jupiter emotionally, Scorpio. Now, one thing I've noticed in the past couple of weeks, tell me if you have too, has been lots and lots of people talking about the shadow side. Have you heard about this? The shadow side. I mean, it's not a new concept. It's a Jungian concept. It's about the side of us that we don't necessarily want to show. And it's just been coming up. It started with the eclipses a couple of weeks ago, and it's like everywhere I look, people are talking about the shadow side. The part of you that you don't want to talk about, the part of you that's deep, dark and mysterious and a bit taboo. And the penny dropped. Like yesterday, I was reading something on the internet by a lovely astrologer I know called Divine Harmony. And she's all into depth psychology, and she was talking about the shadow side as Jupiter moves into the very deep, dark and shadowy sign of Scorpio. And I thought, aha, that is why it's been all about the shadow side, and it's going to be coming up. And if you're someone who likes to live intentionally and consciously, as I am, astrology is something that you can really use to do that. And I think there's something very interesting here, a little nugget for those of you who like to work with the planets. So we all know that according to the law of attraction, we need to more or less focus on the positive. Think about what we do want, and don't think about what we don't want, okay? That's very much been my mantra, the mantra of anyone who's followed Abraham Hicks over the years. It's very true, okay? However, there's something interesting happening now, because Jupiter moving into Scorpio is going to show us our shadow side. It's going to show us the part of us that we have to start to work with and that we have to start to reconcile. And what I'm finding really interesting at the moment is the rise of tapping. Have you heard of it? Nick Orton is big on tapping. I think they call it EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique. If you're watching me on Facebook, it's where you start tapping. I'm tapping myself now. And you say things like, what could I say? I don't want to be too personal, so I'm going to make something up, okay? Okay, I don't actually have a brother, so let's do this. Even though I was really rude to my brother, you tap away on these particular points on your face. Even though I was rude to my brother and I know that I wasn't very nice, even though I haven't been that nice to my brother lately, I truly and completely love and approve of myself. And you basically go through this thing where you're kind of focusing on the negative, okay? And I was thinking about this and I was thinking it's so funny because actually it's really important to do, because we have to face the issue and then let it go. Now, I would love to speak to someone like Anita Morjani about this, because I know Anita would have some really interesting things to say. And I don't know Anita very well, but we've met a few times. Maybe I'll see if she'll come on the show. She's so busy, but maybe she'll spare us an hour or two to talk about this. I'd love to get her take on it, because she's got such a cosmic take on everything. But I think as Jupiter moves into Scorpio, it's going to be more about actually facing the dark side, working with it, and then releasing it. So one thing people in the New Age get accused of quite a lot is only kind of living in la la land and rainbows and unicorns and never thinking about the darkness. But now with Jupiter, the amplifying planet, moving into Scorpio, the deep, dark and mysterious planet that rules the taboos and the things we don't want to talk about, it is going to be perhaps a time where we are going to say, you know what, we have to deal with our stuff, and then we let it go. And that doesn't mean that we focus on our stuff. It doesn't mean that we turn life into a pity party where we're always thinking about our stuff. But maybe it's going to make it a little bit easier to have these regular sessions where we do deal with our stuff and let it go, so that we can actually function better the rest of the time. You know, say you do 10% of work on yourself of releasing the dark stuff by facing it, processing it, and actually looking at it, and then 90% of the time maybe is spent thinking about what we actually do want. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of working with this. I'm sitting with this. If you follow my work, or if you've read my book Moonology, you will know that once a month at the time of the full moon, I highly, highly recommend a forgiveness session. So I think that's going to be a really good time as well to face any dark stuff, because we can forgive ourselves. I'll keep doing that on this show as well. So if you like tuning in, we'll be doing the forgiveness ceremonies that we've been doing on air lately. So expect massive Jupiterian transformations, because Scorpio is all about the life, death and rebirth cycle. And as Jupiter moves into the sign of Scorpio, society will explore certain taboos, okay, because Scorpio is all about taboos. There'll be perhaps more conversations about death, about euthanasia, about life after death, about sex trafficking, for example, a very dark subject nobody really wants to talk about. All these things are going to loom larger. Dark underbellies will be exposed, and justice, because Jupiter does justice. Justice can be served. Hope, very Jupiterian. Hope can replace fear, which is a Scorpionic thing. And just something that's really kind of funny, I've just got to mention this. It's kind of slightly astrological humor. Maybe I'm the only one who's going to see the funny side of this, but you know, Scorpio often is about the things that are taboo and the things we don't want to talk about, which is why so many Scorpios apologize for being Scorpio, as if like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm a Scorpio. It's like, it's okay, we all have Scorpio in our chart somewhere, as I'm about to explain. But I wrote about Scorpio, Jupiter moving into Scorpio, for a magazine. I won't mention which magazine it was, and it was all fine. Most of the articles absolutely fine. But when it came to talking about all the taboos, like literally like death, life after death, sex workers' rights, that's another one that's going to come up, sex trafficking, which I mentioned, euthanasia, dark subjects like that are going to be coming up, things that people don't like to talk about. Guess what? The magazine actually wrote to me and said, sorry, that's too dark, can you please take that out? And I just thought that's so kind of ironic in an astrological humor kind of way, because the very things I'm saying, we've got to start talking about things that people don't like to talk about, and no, not yet. They asked me to take it out. So there you go. That's kind of astrology in action. I may be the only person who found that funny, but maybe a few astrologers out there will get the joke as well. Okay, I want to go to the phones in a few minutes, and thank you to everyone who's holding on. I can see you're there. But before we do that, I want to explain this concept of how we all have Scorpio in our chart somewhere. So basically the way astrology works is if you think of a circle cut into 12 sections, which is basically what your astrology chart is, which if you go to the address I gave you before, you'll find it there. I'll put it on the front page of my website, moonology.com, after the show if you're listening to this later. But if you look at your chart, it's cut into 12 sections, and the sign that you'll find at around about 9 o'clock is what's known as your rising sign, and then all the other signs follow anti-clockwise in the order you'll always find them in magazines and newspapers. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and they all go around the chart. So you have Scorpio somewhere in your chart. So now I'm going to just explain quickly where it is for each sign or rising sign, and what that means. Okay, so if you're Aries or Aries rising, Scorpio rules your 8th house. So Jupiter is moving into your 8th house, and that is the house of sex and taxes and all those other things that we don't like to talk about. So you're about to experience more of those kind of taboo things. Now that can be great. It can be great for your sex life. It can also be good for you financially in the coming 12 months of the Jupiter into Scorpio cycle. But pay attention. For Taurians or Taurus rising people, Jupiter will be moving into your 7th house, which is your house of love and romance, but also open enemies, so watch out for that. But it should be actually really, really good for you for your love life in the next 12 months. It's actually known as the marriage cycle as well. So if you're in a relationship and you're thinking, when is he or she going to propose? Maybe in the next 12 months. Gemini or Gemini rising, we're talking 6th house. So actually Jupiter into Scorpio, this cycle means you are going to enjoy your life more in a nutshell, which is so good because you've had Saturn opposite your sign for so long. You deserve a bit more fun. For Cancerians or Cancer rising people, Jupiter is moving into your 5th house, which is the part of your chart that's all about children, your own or someone else's, creativity and romance. So all those things are going to improve because Jupiter is all about improvement. And it's particularly good for Cancerians because Cancerians, especially if you've got kids, Cancerians love their kids, and it's good for your kids. Leo or Leo rising, it's all about your 4th house, which is home and family. So improvements on the home and family front. Time for you to get your dream home. Virgo or Virgo rising, it's a really interesting one for you because it is taking place in your 3rd house, which is your mind zone, your communication zone. And if there's one thing that Virgos need to do, it's they need to think positively. Well, Jupiter's the positive planet in your mind zone for the coming 12 months. So pay attention and see how much better your life is when you think positively. Libra or Libra rising. So is it bad because the lucky planet's moving out of your sign? No, it's not. You've had 12 months of Jupiter. You have to wait another 12 years now for that to happen again. Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the chart. But Jupiter is now moving into your 2nd house, which is your house of self-esteem and money. So you can get improvements in both of those parts of your life. And just remember, think about how being more confident has helped you in the last 12 months, because that was what the Jupiter cycle was all about. Scorpios, yes, you have Jupiter in your 1st house, which is your like the front door to your chart. It's your sign. Scorpio rising. Basically, you're in for a really good 12 months. Think positively. Don't expect life to be magical all the time. You've still got to do the work, but really a very, very good start of a cycle for you. For Sagittarius, you get Jupiter in your 12th house, and that is going to improve your spiritual life, which I think is going to be really useful for you because you need it. You've had Saturn in your sign for 2+ years, and you're going to now start to have a bit more inner peace. Capricorn, start of a better cycle for you socially. You're going to get more invitations and make new friends in the next coming 12 months. This is all really in a nutshell. Of course, like I said, on my site Moonology, you'll find much more information for each sign. For Aquarius, it's actually in your 10th house, which is interesting because a lot of Aquarians don't tend to be that ambitious because you're kind of about humanity. busy, but it's actually a really good time for you career-wise. Or if you're really, really not happy in your job, it's a time where you might just make a bid for freedom, Jupiter being a freedom planet. And finally, Pisces, Jupiter's moving into your 9th house, and that is where you have adventure and study and travel and anything that opens your mind. So for Pisceans, it's the start of a mind expanding time. So look, that is basically it for the Yasmin talking part of the show. I can see there's lots of people waiting on the line. Hi guys, I am coming to you now. If you're watching me on Facebook Live, hello, I can see you, some people there. Hello, Carol in Canada, and Beatrice talking Spanish to me. Hello. I'm going to switch this off now. If you want to keep listening, jump over to heyhouseradio.com and I'll see you there. I'm just switching that off.